It was very high prio for them. I'm not expecting CFO to be able to play Sion this entire tournament for the rest of it. But I am very curious to see if Doggo's going to be able to play things like Draven, if he's going to be able to play things like Corki, which he has been so incredible on.
As we jump into this Champion Select powered by Omen HyperX, let's see what gets through. As you say, Azir is up. No longer is it, as it is banned out on 3 here. Does mean we have things like the Wukong that have been so highly prized as a first pick jungler for teams so far at Worlds.
Yeah, it does feel like Wukong is almost always going to be that answer. And we're just going to have a snap Aurora coming through here. So will it just be Aurora Xin? That will be my prediction. It is going to be Aurora Xin. So a lot of the OPs that are up and available just kind of being grabbed up here immediately. And Rumble also up. I would think you're going to get probably Rumble plus the mid lane answer. Yeah, wow. That's fast.
And I mean, look, both teams clearly coming in with a game plan. I think for KT, they've loved this kind of Wukong Rumble pairing when they're able to get their hands on it. I think Perfect's ultimates on the Rumble have been fantastic as well in solidifying some of these teamfight wins. So it looks like comfort already for KT. And do CFO now just round it out with an answer in the top lane, or do they want to try and solidify that AD carry for Doggo before that pinch starts to come through?
I would honestly love to see an Ornn. I feel like Ornn is a really good matchup in a Rumble. I feel like it suits Driver's play style, and it is going to be the Ornn. So we're going to have matched roles, fairly predictable draft, through the first 3 on both sides. I think both teams really kind of playing towards their strengths. Now is where it's going to get a little bit weird, I think, because I'm curious to see if it is going to be more targeted bans towards the player rather than the meta. How concerned are you about Corki? How concerned are you about things like Draven? Especially because CFO is on the red side, or will KT just go something a bit more standard and say, you know what, you're not going to bring Draven out unless there's really a great opportunity, because deokdam can absolutely play a lot of these utility marksmen very, very well, and I feel like his job should be to neutralize bot lane.
Something we have seen shine for KT as well is that Caitlyn pick. Moving it around the map in the early game, getting strong leads, and then just being able to siege really effectively. And with a Wukong, a Taliyah, a Rumble there to poke people out underneath the tower, even go for that all-in on a siege. I actually really like the Caitlyn as an opportunity here for KT.
Yeah, especially when you think towards what KT would like here, something that can contest on mid-wave, try and keep pressure so that then you can have this Taliyah operate on side lanes, and then use that strength into finding picks at areas that are nice and close quarters, enabling things like the Wukong and the Rumble, especially towards those Dragon objectives as this game goes on.
I wonder if Kaiwing's just going to go something like Alistar here. Okay, it's going to get banned, because I was going to say you could also just go Leona. It feels like Rel is the obvious pick over on the other side, so I thought they might have tried to go Alistar on 4 as a bit of a pre-denial. Karma would be interesting. They don't necessarily need hard engage from support because they do have it for their Ornn, whereas Peter, I feel like they're more looking for that primary engage. This would lead me to believe that you are looking for more of a real lane counter here on 5 with Doggo, which I think fits their style, because in my mind, CFO's bot lane kind of has to go ballistic for them to win the series.
Yeah, this to me says that they want, I was about to say, they take the Karma, you want to try and have Karma Ezreal in case that Caitlyn ends up coming through and you've already got an answer, but the Corki, already a great lane neutralizer. Doggo's been fantastic on it, it makes a ton of sense, and you now get to keep that answer in that support role as to how you want to try and operate.
I really would like to see something along the lines of the Rel here. I just feel like, having that setup alongside the Rumble here, alongside the Taliyah, having that hard engage to be able to set up the seismic sub, set up the equalizer, I do feel like is really strong. Yes, you have the Wukong, but I feel like Wukong generally works better kind of as that secondary engage or engaging at the same time. And when you have the Ezreal, yes, you can play like Ezreal Karma and that sort of style for lane dominant, but you can also just leave that Ezreal alone and go elsewhere. And instead, it's going to be more of a neutralizing pick here. Braum obviously gets a ton of value against Ornn, so that is probably more what they're thinking about.
Yeah, it just gives you so much value into that Call of the Forge God, the Unbreakable, blocking it before it can get the knock up through your team. Alongside that, Braum is okay at following up engages. If the Wukong goes in, you're jumping with a stand beside me next to him, start to get some concussive blow stacks onto the team around him, and then you have the follow-up from the Taliyah and the Rumble if you want it. CFO now looking towards their support, that counter pick for Kaiwing, it's the Nami. So before this year, if Kaiwing had ever played Nami, I would have said, nah man, that's a loss, it's a free L. But from this year on, he has actually really leveled up his game on these enchanters.
Yeah, it does mean though for CFO operating in team fights, they really need to be careful on how they use these like double ultimates on the Ornn and the Nami, because Braum can get a ton of value on them in team fights, and especially when I'm looking at KT, their one-item spike is incredibly strong. Double Triforce if you want to, the Sunder Sky even for the Wukong if you want to operate on that build. There is a ton of value that you can get in and around that mark, and if CFO aren't careful about their team fights, KT can snowball off of this single item.
They absolutely can, but at the same time, Nami, obviously really strong laner here, and this is going to give them a lot of power in this 2v2. You know, unless you have Cuzz getting down there in the bot lane, then I don't think the Nami should really be that scared of this matchup, and we've seen how aggressively Doggo likes to play, you know, with this Corki. He's like frontlining on Corki.
It's insane.
He's playing in your face. He's daring you to engage on him, where he can then, you know, cleanse, flash, Valk, etc. out and punish people who are going in. And with the Nami, you know, being able to buff you up, that is going to be even more powerful. So excited to see what kind of an advantage they can actually build here.
Have our eyes down towards that bottom side. Doggo, the real breakout star of the tournament. He's been impressive from time to time in the past, especially MSI when he subbed in for RNG. I think a lot of people started to realize who he was as a player, but at this tournament, so far, one of the best AD carries we've seen.
And it's not the first time we've talked about him like this. Right the way back when he was on Beyond Gaming, it was Doggo that made a name for himself at these international tournaments, so much so he got picked up by Billy Gaming, ended up moving across then towards Ultimate Prime, and it was just across the board. Doggo was fantastic. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to find that success in the LPL. But hang on a second, as maybe in trouble here as we move through.
Yeah, a bit of invade coming out from KT. Doggo will be forced away. Credit volley from BDD means that Doggo doesn't have to be worried about something like a seismic shove. The Winter's Bite doesn't find its mark, no concussive blows, no slows, and in the end, CFO were able to walk away.
And this is that same bot lane that they actually used against AL. You know, using that Corki plus the Nami, you know, really to a lot of success in that one. And so I'm excited to see them take some of these risks. Like, is it a risk? Yes, of course it is. You know, playing something like the Nami, you can get preyed on. If Wukong gets down there and you just get Q flashed by the Braum, concussive stun, you're stunned up, you can get knocked down. It's harder to play around vision, but you drafted for engage on that top side. And though you're talking about it, Rob, I like your points. Like, there's a lot of value that the Braum can get, you know, from against this Ornn and Nami. But the other side of that is you can kind of stagger them, right? So you can throw out the Nami ult, and then if that Braum shield is used, well, guess what? Then it opens the door for that Ornn one to kind of follow up afterwards. So it's like you can kind of look at it in two different ways, right?
Yeah, I mean, even different angles is also, like, if you can get driver coming in on a flank or something like that, I think you can set up. It's just more about making sure then that you are able to get access. Because, again, I think if you hit that one-item spike for KT, being able to put pressure... Oh, well, I was going to say, if you had the Caitlyn, you could put more pressure on mid lane, but it can be difficult for you to regain access to some of these objectives if you end up losing it for KT.
Interestingly, as Kaiwing and Doggo are forced back a little bit here, Kaiwing actually not getting any pots in this lane. Just went for the support item. Going to be using that ebb and flow to heal them up through the wave. Also has that summon Airy, which does give you that little bit of extra shielding when you're buffing an ally. Deokdam and Peter do have the level 2 first. They'll force Doggo and Kaiwing back underneath their tower.
Yeah, it's a little bit risky. As, like, I was checking, like, did he use them? Was there something that I missed? But I went back, and yeah, he just didn't actually buy any potions. So, you know, he's going to have a little bit more money when he does first go back to base. But the other side of that is, of course, if you're trading heavily, it can definitely be very risky.
Importantly as well, getting that Bandle Glass Mirror early on the Nami for the extra mana regeneration gives you more sustain. So I can understand the idea of, I can save a little bit of gold now. If I can get that 100 gold earlier, actually gives us much more power in the lane.
I was going to say, even if they're going for the redemption build, like, we've seen every support essentially just trying to cheat. How much gold can I put in towards that item, right? Like,
it's Arden Sensor all over
exactly,
again,
yeah. And like, we're going for the free boots now. Yeah. We don't even care about roaming because that gives us 300 gold that we can put in towards the redemption buy. And the whole point is, hey, we hit that first time in Atacon, and suddenly we can actually turn a big fight there thanks to that item.
So you're telling me the junglers should be leashing for the supports?
Exactly.
Level 1 blue buff Nami, that's what we're moving towards.
I mean, this Worlds has a lot of symmetry with 2017 Worlds. You know, you have T1.
Don't tell me that. That was a terrible.
It was because Arden Sensors. We see a Scuttlecraft bite. Peter putting the Unbreakable down. It's going to get knocked up. Almost falls, but dashes away. JunJia dashes in with the audacious charge. Managed to pick up the kill. Able to survive as well, but Deokdam dashing forward for it. HongQ's going to have to flash the wall, but Cuzz is on the chase. The Wukong finds the kill in the jungle. 2-1 KT.
That's the fight that we were hoping to see in this series coming through already. Over a Scuttle Crab, everyone arrives, but it's KT who are able to get 2 off the back of it.
Yeah, and Deokdam walks away with double buffs on the Ezreal here. We talked about, you know, how you're drafting to try to get this dual lane ahead. And Deokdam is going to be in such a good position now. Got the early kill plus the assist, has double buffs, and the wave is pushing away from the Corki. So it is looking difficult. I do wonder, you know, if Driver might go towards bot, you could send Corki top, try to change things around. Peter here got very aggressive, flashed in, Q flash straight up onto JunJia, went a bit too early, let's be honest. And so he does end up going down, but the fight still looked very good for KT. They moved over first. They really were putting so much pressure on in this fight, and HongQ just couldn't really get anything going.
A question I had in my mind coming into this series is how awake are KT? It has been 12 days since they last played a game at Worlds. They have only played 4 games at Worlds so far. And I think, although it is only the first fight, we see still where they shine, that skirmishing, that team fight, working out well for KT. Although perhaps slightly odd that it's in the early game where they tend to struggle.
So Doggo is moving top. This is what I was talking about. I mean, the bot wave was absolutely screwed after that. So, you know, Deokdam gets a kill. The wave is really bad for you. So it's so terrible for their 2v2 on bot side. You can see 500 plus gold lead. So Driver is basically going to sacrifice to the team. Driver saying, you know what? I will take the terrible wave. You go top, collect this wave that is pushing in towards me. They know they need to keep Doggo into a good spot, but it is a really concerning start just because it's not just about those kills, it's about the fallout afterwards.
And that will be the Dragon, right? KT are with Cuzz already on this bottom side. He just clears in towards Dragon. He's going to be able to take that one up. And you've already got an AD carry to keep that push on the bottom side. And KT stacking Dragons, playing for team fights, is going to be fantastic for the style of composition that they have.
And that wave is still frozen against Driver. So he's actually, as they go up, he's going to try to run down and fix that wave. And he will be able to get it pushed in, thankfully.
JunJia covering him there as well to make sure that he gets it in. Driver obviously not involved in the bot river skirmish, so does still have his flash, has his TP. But for the moment, KT in a really strong spot in this early game, about 1,000 gold ahead. First Drake at 6 minutes, stacking those up. And we talked about one-item spikes for KT. Having this small early game lead just accelerates you towards them even quicker. And that's why I like early Dragon stacking, because you know 1-item, 2-item spikes is when you're fighting for that soul.
Yeah, and especially as you start to now reset for Cuzz, you'll be able to move in towards top side, clear that out, and then as you were just talking about, like Grub's in a minute and a half, he's going to be in a fairly good spot, hits level 6 just before that happens, and it's kind of that little bit of an early advantage that is setting you up very, very nicely for this. But JunJia wants to try and get on towards perfect in this top side.
Perfect, used the equalizer earlier on. Doggo just holding him away from the wave. It will be a 3v1.
Yeah, I mean, the issue is the wave is pushing towards perfect, so there's no pressure on him, you know? When you see those range minions stacking, yeah, it's annoying, you're going to lose a little bit, but you're getting the XP, and eventually it will collect and come to you, so you just have to play that safe, and you can see that Peter's actually going to TP top. They're just going to TP perfect down towards bot to collect that wave, so they're moving it around, they're just doing the same thing, basically, that the CFO did earlier. They're going to give Deokdam this stacked up wave to keep pushing him ahead to try to match this 2v2 when he's already on Sheen tier. He's looking like he's in a great spot.
Yeah, and also I love the defensive vision that's there for KT as well. Like, they have this ward that's just sitting over towards their Grump, and it's been able to spot out like any time HongQ started to shift across, if there's some sort of dive that was there. So just already KT very aware of the type of plays that CFO like to make in these early stages to garner these leads.
For the moment, both teams willing just to accept these waves. The wave stays kind of just sitting where they are. You have a few swaps coming out. You can see Doggo. It looked like for a second perhaps he was pathing down towards bottom side, but once again just makes his way up towards top with the grubs coming up in 15 seconds. KT will have the push in mid and the push in top, so they can just play immediately for those grubs.
Yeah, the big edge is that Driver still has his TP, right? He's actually held on to that. We're perfect TP down towards bot side. So I do want to see CFO actually challenging at these grubs. They should play aggressively for them because you have that Ornn teleport. But Cuzz has gotten here so early, he's likely to just be able to sneak one grub away. And then honestly, as KT, you don't really care what happens after that. Sure, you'd like to get more, but you definitely don't have to.
He's going to smite it to get the first one. KT can look to see if they want to take the fight because of the push up towards that top side. They will force JunJia back. Weaver's Wall coming out. Seismic shove, crescent guard from JunJia as he looks for the re-engage. Second grub secured there. It's CFO that get it. The fight continues as BDD looks for some damage from the side between worlds. Goes HongQ, dives onto the backline with the Cyclone. Already takes down one. Doggo so late to this battle. Cuzz looking for that flash across the wall and dashes to the grubs. Call to the Forge God from Driver. Lands the knock up onto 2, but he's so low. Gets another double knock. Unbreakable is not enough to stop Driver, and HongQ forcing another kill in. Deokdam starts to turn onto Doggo, flashes across the Aqua Prism. BDD still so healthy. HongQ trying to dissuade the enemy mid from getting on towards his backline. Cuzz going in. Driver escapes. Doggo does too. Kaiwing does too, and somehow HongQ gets his way away. Deokdam still looking for more. HongQ dodges away, and in the end, A 1-for-1 exchange.
Yeah, 1-for-1, but the problem is they're losing a lot on that bot side here. They're losing plates, they're losing minions. It was a 5v4. Driver joined very late with the TP if he was going to actually do it, and Doggo wasn't even a part of the beginning of that fight. So even though there was technically the man advantage, the fight was very disjointed from CFO.
And a lot of that was perfect, chasing the Ornn out, so he actually couldn't TP for an incredibly long time. So you already get this focus on towards JunJia, where KT able to try and play through this in this slow portion of the fight. But as this TP comes through, they've already gotten one. And honestly, a couple more of these skill shots landing, it could have been a very different story. Cuzz gets out, but watch Driver here. Deokdam misses one Mystic shot there. That could have actually been the kill on the Driver as he starts to step away. CFO were able to get one back. Doggo goes a bit too far here. And BDD on the back of this misses the seismic shove here. That could have been another kill. So realistically, CFO lucky that they managed to get away with how this went.
Yeah, and honestly, it would have been a game ender. Like, they could have gotten all 3 of those kills, and then that's probably all she wrote. The game will, of course, go on, but still, it is fantastic for KT. You're down a man, you get a grub, you get plates, you create this lead on Perfect, and you get the TP off of Driver, so they're going to have TP advantage here in just a minute or two, and I think KT are feeling super confident about their position in this game.
Managing to get 2 grubs out of it in the end as well means that they have that feat of objective stacking at 2 of the 3 required 4 feet of strength. Next Drake in 30 seconds. Yet to see that Trinity Force for the Ezreal. I'm sure KT will be trying to funnel as much gold into him as possible to get him there before the next Drake fight. But there's a Triforce on Cuzz, and on the other side, it's still mostly components apart from a Sundered Sky for JunJia.
It's also, do you really want to contest this if you're CFO? Flashless on your Corki. You have that Triforce now complete onto Cuzz. And you've got push on bottom lane. I feel like this is really difficult to contest, where KT can focus down some of your key carries, and Driver doesn't have that teleport.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough question, right? Feats will also go over if you lose it, right? And losing Feats this early also feels really rough. But I agree, KT definitely has the better positioning. They have push on bot, they have push on mid. They're there first, with the vision setup. JunJia is around, so CFO are absolutely considering it, but it's going to be so tough to work your way in.
Basically no flashes on either side as well. There's 3 available in the game. Perfect, Peter, and JunJia, and HongQ. As the Drake taken by Cuzz. And CFO, spectator sport at the moment as the flash comes in with the Winter's Bite. JunJia with a Crescent Guard, but look at the damage coming out from KT right now. They'll find 2 JunJia Force low. CFO trying to respond, but Doggo and Kaiwing are forced away.
KT looking confident in these early skirmishes. Peter once again with the aggressive flash to set up KT for a boatload of gold off the bat.
I mean, it's great for KT, but this time I don't really understand CFO going for it. We talked about how the setup was so much better from KT, and if you're not even going to bring down the Ornn, then how are you going to be able to actually out-team fight in a 4v5 with worse setup, with worse condition as far as your summoners and your carries are concerned as well? I mean, Ornn is top, he's not even moving, right? It's never really going to work out. And we can see Peter again just goes aggressive. Braum obviously not a great primary engage, but both the early Scuttle fight and this fight, he's just flashing in, throwing up the Unbreakable, and even though he goes down, they're committing so much to him that you're never going to win the fight out afterwards.
And now you have a 4-kill Wukong that is going to be devastating in these fights. And at this stage, you kind of get to snowball a lot of these leads, because when you go up towards these next few fights, that's where you can now have the advantages as you move forward.
Mandate finished now for Kaiwing. We talked about trying to rush that to get more damage out of your Corki. And from your Zhao, actually, with the Tidecaller's Blessing on him, the 3 Talon Strike can do a lot of work, but right now it's such a big hole that CFO find themselves in. 1.5k behind. First item still waiting for Doggo on that Corki.
I mean, Wukong is just going to be such a problem. When Wukong gets this accelerated, all of a sudden you don't really need a lot of help to be able to threaten the backline carries. Equalizer plus Wukong is going to be more than enough to mean that Doggo and HongQ basically can't play, right? You just drop it on their head, you fly in, and they're going to have to get out of there, if not just outright die. Not to even mention, True Shot Barrage can come in over the top. There's so many extra tools that could be there, but they just don't even need it when Wukong's this fed.
And I think, honestly, KT came into this with a very good game plan of, hey, we understand CFO like to go for these aggressive plays towards side lanes in the early stages to get their jungler ahead and try and play through that, but with KT, they came in, they attacked bot lane, stopped Doggo from getting the lead, then they had defensive wards on that top side to prevent any sort of plays towards Perfect, and now you're in a position with these early skirmishes working out fantastically for KT off of these early spikes we were talking about.
Absolutely, and I just feel like CFO, it's been less about the play in the skirmishes and more about the play prior to the skirmishes, right? They're skipping steps. They're not always having the proper setup. Even when they had the TP advantage, they weren't able to utilize it whatsoever. Yep. And when they didn't, and they shouldn't even be trying, they're going in anyway. So it just feels like they're trying to force it, and HongQ's in trouble.
Either using the Ghost, TP comes out, and because of that, KT will disengage. They get the summoner out of drive, and that's all they're really looking for. Now you can see the pings going on Rifto, and it's like, okay, we can have a man advantage on the top side. Driver has to stay bot. We reset perfect down towards this bottom side, and then we can go for that Herald. Still a long time before anything on the bot side spawns. 2 minutes on the next Drake and 5 on the Archon as Kaiwing's chunked out by Deokdam. And in the end, he will just dash across that wall.
And look at the map. No one was even moving towards top side, so that's more minions that are going to be falling here. Now HongQ will get back, will TP up there, so they're going to be able to fix those wave states. But KT really happy to just take these slight advantages. Peter now has the redemption complete. You can see Blackfire Torch done there for BDD. So all of these major spikes have now come in for KT.
And you can see the consequences of Driver TPing for the save. He now has to walk up. Actually looks like we're going to have Perfect moving up here as well. I wonder if they did just want to have him push out that bot lane wave, but CFO forcing the tempo, forcing the play means that KT wants to answer without using that TP. Cuzz dashing in onto Driver. HongQ and BDD fighting up towards the top side.
I love this call from CFO. Sack a wave and just get yourself in river. If KT can hold these choke points, that's where they're most scary, but same goes for CFO with the combo of this Ornn and Nami wave.
Deokdam's just so strong right now, it feels like. Has double buffs once again, and is going to be set up very well. Doggo looks like he's heading down towards bot side, so I think CFO will be potentially getting him that blue buff, it looks like, and we'll see if they want to try to challenge, because Perfect is just kind of pushing once again. He's just pushing on that bot side, has the TP advantage. If no one's going to answer, they're just going to get the tower.
And I think that's where CFO needed to pull the trigger faster. Now it's Driver who might get caught.
A little bit, uses the Bella's breath, gets the knock up onto the Braum. Aqua Prism coming across, Unbreakable down, Doggo Valkyrieing in as Driver's forced to flash away, and KT with a TP are going to have a 5v5 in a second. Tidal Wave out, casting that second Cyclone lands it. Doggo caught out first, the equalizer on the backline. Nami has to flash away, BDD finds him with an unraveled Earth through HongQ, trying to get in to the backline to get damage on Peter. He'll find one, but he's burnt where he stand. Roast rabbit for dinner for Perfect as KT once again come out on top in the fight.
Yeah, KT come out on top again. This time CFO tried to really punish Peter there, but as he got bubbled, he throws up the wall. Doggo valks in, and they immediately turn to punish him. Peter throws down the ult, that forced out the flash, and then everyone from KT just piled in on Doggo. They knew it was all about the Corki in that fight. BDD has a great ult to follow it up, and we can just watch it one more time. He's just really wanting it a bit too much. It's not the right target to valk in on.
No, not at all. As you say, the Unbreakable goes up, and it's all sad times for Doggo. Immediately has to try and flash away, and everything is burned to try and keep Cuzz at bay. So as BDD comes in, and that great ultimate again from Perfect just keeps CFO at bay. There's a few extra kills picked up in the back of it, but again, CFO are just struggling to find that success against KT, and now we move towards the Dragon.
HongQ gets himself a little bit of gold. Now 4 and 3 on this Aurora. Has the Neandries and a needlessly large rod, but no ultimate right now as KT are going to fight around this Drake. It's a bit of a flank from BDD. The Weaver's Wall could split the team. JunJia looking for the poke. Driver going in. Bella's breath popped. The poke from CFO landing a little bit more. HongQ though gets the weirding onto Perfect. BDD on that flank position coming in through the bot side. The knock back with the blast cone pushes HongQ into the face of BDD. The Drake down to 1,000 secured by JunJia. Goes in with the Crescent Guard, heals up with the Sundered Sky, flashes away and somehow survives. Driver knocked back with the seismic shove. He'll pay for it with his life. The equalizer on the back line though is going to find another Peter looking for more with the Winter's Bite. And the stun on HongQ allows Deokdam to get his second.
The ultimate cooldown was up ever so slightly faster for CFO, but as KT's tick down, CFO fall down with them.
Yeah, I mean, KT, I think, just slow played that so well because they were barely missing the ultimates from Perfect and Cuzz. So they didn't want to hard commit to a fight prior to that. A great smite steal from JunJia does save that from being a complete
disaster. Chase under the tower. Doggo falls first, the turret falling low. Deokdam was taken out by the tower with Doggo's assistance, but KT in the end do find the kill. TP coming in as Driver looks for a flank position here. Does have the call of the Forge God. but isn't going to use it, doesn't know where they are.
There's no one home. CFO are trying desperately to make these plays happen, but they just cannot find the moments that they need. Committing to Dragon, sure they get the steal, but losing so much again off the back of it.
Yeah, maybe we can see it one more time. And we can see, look at the ultimate cooldowns here at the bottom of your screen there for KT. This is why they are playing it slow. They want to keep them interested. They want to keep them round. JunJia goes in, lands a great smite, but they know Perfect is about to have his equalizer back up. He had a fantastic ult across the entire CFO team as they are retreating. And then Cuzz, his Cyclone is coming back up just about now, so they know they can continue to push forward.
I've been really impressed with Perfect's Rumble ult usage throughout this tournament. He's been spectacular on it, and we're seeing it throughout this game as well. He's been catching several people out with that, even finishing off JunJia at the end. And now KT, it feels like you kind of just get to dot your I's and cross your T's. Like, keep EDD in a side lane, keep up that pressure. They're going to take Riptide off the back of this, and it looks like for CFO, they're going to try and overload this bottom side of the map. Perfect can probably just, yeah, I think the wave's gone, so it's just a nothing burger.
Yeah, I mean, it's really tough because, I mean, the bright side obviously is that Seoul isn't right around the corner. They've delayed a little bit. You can hope to maybe try to find some picks, but the downside is they don't really have a lot of ways to create explosive engages, to create that action. As long as Peter is the one face-checking, you're never going to really get a winning fight if he has people behind him. It just takes too much of their damage to be able to actually knock down this Braum.
You also just don't have the range.
Yeah.
Like, you've got a Tidal Wave and a Call of the Forge God and an Unbreakable on the other side, which is going to eat up those very easily for KT.
I think if there is a team that won't give up, though, it is CFO.
Yeah.
We've seen it every single time that they've fallen behind. They will keep fighting. They will keep fishing for picks. So if KT start to get lax for a moment, that's where CFO can try and find these picks. Now, it's not easy, but definitely this is a team that will find them, but I think they're getting caught.
Man, this frontline Braum, I'm loving it. Glacial Fisher onto 2. The Oysters are falling as KT collapse. Driver stunned up, put another pearl on the necklace. KT as 2 more Oysters fall.
And Peter just blast cones himself in there. He said, we don't have a gauge. We don't have a gauge. Are you seeing this game? Peter is just flashing in on CD. And this time doesn't have the flash, but he has got no problems at all. My man knows his role. They are snowballing. He's just going to throw himself in your face. And if you don't respond, you're just going to get wiped.
This was the first time Peter got to fly to the country, and he was like, what if I do that in-game as well? It would be perfect. And it has been absolutely fantastic. KT, this pick, brilliant. Peter sends himself on in, and CFO are like, wait, what the hell is a Braum doing here?
Yeah, Peter is just making action happen. Every fight is a good one for the team if you've got them behind you. He's able to force it. They get those kills. They take Otacon, and they are just pushing this advantage further and further ahead. I agree, CFO is going to keep fighting it out. They're not a team to just bleed out slowly, but it does feel like this next fight could be the death knell.
They're also a team where one game isn't indicative of how the series will
Very
go.
true.
Right, CFO, even against AL, we saw them losing but still fighting back. The question is, will they get the Scion? Will they be able to find ways to fight back against KT? Because a lot of it can be defined in draft for them, where the rest will come in instead of Driver as well.
I mean, it was also true against FlyQuest, right?
Yeah.
FlyQuest was at Soul Point, was up 3 or 4K in that first game against them, and they just kept fighting. And yeah, it did take a mistake from the other team, but they were able to capitalize on that, pull the game back. So they have to keep looking for these plays. You're hoping for a hero moment. HongQ has been the only one that's been really even close in gold, it feels like, for a long time. So maybe if he can find that dream flank, you know, if Peter goes too far ahead of the rest of the team and he can get the back line, maybe you can find some sort of an angle. But it feels so hard because they have no vision. And, you know, when you're looking at the map, like, that is terrifying. You know, when you're saying, okay, you need to find this dream flank, you need to find this dream pick, you don't know where anyone is.
And alongside that, even if you do, like, Ezreal just arcane shifts away. Like, you put down the between worlds, you try and dive onto the back line, and Dogdam just says, okay, I'm jumping over this wall. BDD, perhaps a target for them. It has that Leandry to a little bit of health as CFO trying to get some pressure in from Driver up towards this top side. Third Drake will go over to KT. CFO just trying to get every bit of gold they can in their pockets before the Baron spawn in 2 minutes' time.
Yeah, and KT even denying that push in the top side, even if it is with the Ornn, it's just making it very difficult for CFO to do anything on the map. And as you say, a minute and a half now until that Baron is up and available. That kind of feels like where KT will just get to blow the game open. You end up picking it up, you push in, and Doggo just able to get out of there.
Rift Tower comes down. As KT look for the push in mid, Weaver's wall being used as well, and CFO just forced away from defending their own objectives, their own towers. HongQ looking for the weirding, won't find too much more out of it as Peter's able to retreat. The tier 2 falls for KT.
Yeah, small little advantage there, but Doggo did get the Cyclone out. They did get Peter low. And the Ornn upgrades are starting to come through. Driver has his first ornament, so some small little things working in CFO's favor. They know they have some tempo because Braum is low and Wukong has no ult, so they're going to try to push up, see, will KT overextend? Will they make a mistake that we can try to capitalize on? Of course, every shot is a long shot from this game state, but you've got to take your chances.
Yeah, and I think CFO have been the team that have done it the best, trying to get some vision down around the Baron. 45 seconds until that's up. Nothing too deep, though, which might have given that opportunity for some sort of flank play, but KT, they're going to continue this push. And as long as they can push these waves back, it makes it difficult now for CFO to contest on the vision points that KT are going to be able to establish.
We are getting towards 2 items for CFO. Trinity Force Manamune complete for Doggo. HongQ has the Shadow Flame Liandry's, got a Sundered Sky and the Black Cleaver for JunJia. So if they can find the backline, they will be able to get through them. Driver gets tankier and tankier as the game goes on. It's hard to work your way through an Ornn, especially as an Ezreal who, although he is at 3 items, doesn't have that huge crit chance, doesn't have a huge amount of damage as they find the pick here onto Peter. Tidal wave down. Peter's going to stand beside his teammate, but HongQ puts him in his place. CFO find the pick. TP coming out from Perfect. HongQ looking for a little bit more. Cyclone from Cuzz just to try and distract and dissuade the engage from CFO, but a great knockback onto JunJia means that Cuzz goes on a rampage. Driver now on the retreat with the rest of the Oysters, but KT are not letting them escape easily. Doggo onto deokdam! 80 for 80 and HongQ adds another onto that receipt. It's 2 so far. Driver retreats. KT still looking for more as Cuzz and BDD step forward, but do they have the damage? Do they have the gap closing to catch up with CFO?
This is exactly what we were talking about. CFO finding their moment. A pick onto Peter. It doesn't quite get them the Baron, but it does get them some much needed gold.
It does, and I mean, Doggo taking his chances there. Valk forward flashing in. Peter gets caught over the wall, and they do not hesitate whatsoever. JunJia instantly goes in. They are able to knock down Peter, and then KT is saying, okay, but we maybe can still take it in the 4v5. But look at this equalizer from Perfect. I think he's expecting that they will retreat into it, but instead it really gets nothing done. CFO doesn't know how to retreat. They're going forward.
And it works out so well because it's Doggo that you keep your eyes on here. As deokdam goes forward, Doggo says, I'm all in as well. Flashes into the face of the Ezreal to get the kill. And that makes the difference here. There is no AD carry left to try and free fire on some of the low health CFO members.
And there's some big shutdowns as well. HongQ got an 800 gold shutdown. That is going to get him the death cap. Another ornament comes through as Driver gets some more experience. That's now a couple upgraded Ornn items through here for CFO. Yes, they are still in a pretty big hole, but look at the damage from this dynamic duo, HongQ and Doggo, making it work for the team.
And as much as Doggo has been around for a while, we've seen him at MSIs. HongQ is the opposite. It is his rookie year. He won Rookie of the Year and Player of the Year over in the LCP. We saw him first at MSI challenging, and now here for CFO on the international stage in a quarter-final. He's not letting the nameplates say anything to him. He is playing this game with those nameplates off.
And I just love this about CFO. I mean, this is a team that has represented the LCP in every single one of the international tournaments. And now they are sitting in quarterfinals against the LCK 3rd seed. And it has not been easy, but they may just be starting to wake up and find their picks.
And something that Chawi, their coach, really was emphasizing that he wanted young players that weren't afraid to fight. You can't give too much respect to the LPL LCK teams. Allow them to dictate the game or you will never stand a chance. You have to make them uncomfortable. You have to get in their face and try to find these opportunities. And that's what they're going to try to do, but it's 25 seconds until a potential soul here for KT.
Importantly, KT's still very much in the driver's seat in this game. 5,500 gold ahead. Medjai's complete on BDD with 12 stacks on it, alongside a Lightning Jewel for that little bit extra penetration. GA complete on Cuzz, so he can get onto that backline even easier. You've got a Seekers for Perfect. Their ability to delay a fight is absolutely massive. CFO pushing through the bot side to try and get a bit of priority to get into River.
And that's the risk. If you end up losing a fight here, there's already waves knocking on your inhibitor. But KT, they start up the Dragon.
Break begun by KT. CFO walking into fog of war, and war it shall be. Equalizer on the backline. Driver stepping forward. Kemtate secured the soul for KT, but is the fight going in their favor? A great flame spitter from Perfect with that Seekers goes golden, but then goes pop. CFO find one. The dive in from Cuzz onto Driver. They'll get one in response. JunJia forced away. A weirding from HongQ, but BDD's on the flank as he looks for the damage. Can't quite find it with that threaded volley. CFO being shepherded down towards this bottom side. JunJia looking for the engage. Doggo dived on, pops the barrier, but then it's put in the dirt. The dive as well from BDD. KT split the fight. Find 5 in the end.
KT wipes CFO off the map. They get the soul, and it feels like that will secure game 1. KT just too strong in these team fights.
They were cut off, they were corralled, and they were shot down. CFO, they were hoping that could be their fight, but now KT, they're not actually going to push for the inhibitors. Looks like they're looking at Baron instead.
It might not be the game-ending fight, but it was definitely the MasterCard priceless moment there as KT secured the soul. With it, they go to 9.5k ahead when they secure this Baron. But CFO, you are walking wounded, you are limping. But perhaps you can find some sort of first aid to get you back in the game.
I feel like that was the last fight, you know, the last realistic chance they had to get in, and KT just set it up so well. Look at Perfect's positioning here. He slows JunJia multiple times with the Electro Harpoons, then Peter is there to keep him away. They know all we have to do is keep JunJia out of the pit. They secure it. It's a great equalizer to soften them up, and even though the early moments of the fight are pretty good here from CFO, Doggo lands a great big one. They have Peter and Cuzz low. BDD and Deokdam, they're full health, and they know this is where they're going to succeed. Yeah,
it was that early flank from Peter putting so much threat onto HongQ and Doggo that bought the time KT needed to work through Driver, work through that front line, and then corral them into position where they can knock them down. Towers falling now for KT, and it feels like that base is surely going to follow soon.
CFO, 5 players trying to defend this top lane at tier 3. KT with the Baron for the next 2 minutes. Continue to push in. You can see Perfect's slowly guiding a wave in that mid lane. KT would have wanted these synced up because now they have to back away. Perfect's going to start to walk his way across towards this top side, then goes back to mid. Again, the waves not quite synced as well as KT would like them, but they do have a few moments here as CFO trying to defend mid.
I mean, KT's gold lead is also kind of lying to you. Deokdam's sitting on over 4,000 gold. He's not based in
forever. He's only got 3 items.
Yeah, he hasn't bought in forever, so he's on equal items to the Corki right now.
Weaver's wall out, tries to split the uprights and does exactly that, but CFO still able to defend. Again, the mid lane wave about 5 seconds away, and because of that, CFO can clear, then walk back towards mid. You see KT back away. Didn't have the time to reset after the Chem Soul fight, then took the Baron, then pushed in, didn't spend their gold, and now that Baron beginning to expire. An entire Cyrildas for Deokdam alongside a BF Sword.
Yeah, not a bad buy. Full Cyrildas and a BF.
Like, you're really happy with it, but also you only have a minute left on the Baron. That's 2 waves left.
Absolutely.
You are still in prime position to win the game as KT. But there were small optimizations that could have been made over that last sequence.
No, I absolutely agree. I mean, they've got a lot of the luxury items in there too, though. You can see almost 25 stacks on the Magi's. Seekers is done. You have the GA ready here for Cuzz. So it does feel like they have everything, but they are running out of time on this push. We'll see. Will they try to force a dive on this next wave? Maybe just drop the equalizer to force them off the tower and crack the base.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the play. Just try and force CFO back. They don't have the Weaver's Wall quite yet to sync up with it. Maybe they want to wait for the next wave, but like that's 30 seconds and oh, here we go.
From JunJia, flash call to the fourth drop from Driver, get the knockup! Oh, Driver, that was gorgeous, but on the back line! Perfect, and Cuzz dive in with the Cyclone. They find 2 for it. CFO pulled the trigger, but KT's reaction was absolutely sublime. They'll wipe away CFO. HongQ can only stand and watch as K2 push in for the win.
Blink and you'll miss it. KT jump onto the back line, and they immediately turn towards the Nexus.
HongQ, he's hopping around, but there's not really much he can do in the face of 4 from KT. Cuzz gives him a love tap as the Nexus falls, and KT go 1-0 up in this quarterfinal.
It's a great start here for KT. First win on the board. 1 out of 3 down to try to make it where they've never been before, the World Semifinals.
And to do so in such a fantastic manner, controlling the early game. But I know there's 2 people who don't want to say anything about this game, and I want to toss it over to them.
The only thing I want to say right now is that I am exulting, guys. That was an amazing game on the side of KT. It's the beginning of the series, so let's see how they can take this one. And one of the questions that we had coming into today, we've talked about it, it is the early games for this team. A completely different look compared to Swiss Stage, Emily.
Yeah, and it was super, super important because I think the big hero to me was Cuzz, right? Because we know JunJia is such a huge part of this CFO early game, and I thought they drafted a composition that A, just does really well in these early skirmishes from level 1.